I got cut off on the first video. The direct labor hours is actually going to be times the labor hours of 14,000, giving us a total cost of 1,016,400. Now we're going to do leather bags. So it's $90 materials times 3,000 units. Direct labor hours is $14 times 6,000 hours. And our allocation is 4,360 times labor hours of 6,000, giving us a total cost of $615,600. So, according to the traditional allocation method, it costs us a lot more to make the polyester bag than it does the leather bag. Okay. So now the company is going to look currently allocated using the traditional method, which is what we just did. The company's accountant has subdivided the overhead into 4 categories and gathered information about these cost categories and the activities that cost the company to incur costs. So here we're looking at the $872,000 in overhead, and what they've done is they've broken it out into unit level, batch level, product level, and facility level. And they've identified the cost driver at each of these levels. So the cost driver at the unit level is the amount of machine hours that it takes. The batch level is the number of setups, the number of inspections, and then the facility level is an equal percentage between the two. So looking at these different cost drivers and the allocation between the polyester and the leather, can you take a guess as to which product, the polyester or the leather bag, is going to get a higher percentage of the allocated overhead for each activity? For the first 3 activities, it's going to be the leather, right? They have more machine hours, more machine setups, and more inspections. And then it's a 50-50 split for the facility level. So here we're being asked to determine the total cost and cost per unit for each product line, assuming that the company allocates overhead using the ABC system, and then figure out the combined cost of the 2 product lines. Alright, so let's look at this again. Oh, and then the combined cost, we forgot to do over here, it costs us $1,632,000 for both products. So what's the first thing that we need to do to figure out how to allocate these? Well, the first thing is figuring out our rate, our allocation rate, or our predetermined overhead rate. So if you'll remember, it's the total cost, in this case $480,000, divided by our total cost driver. So you'll notice something different here than under the traditional method. While we're calculating the rate in the same way, taking our total cost divided by our total cost driver, we're actually going to have 4 different rates. We're going to have a rate for each activity and each cost driver. So under the traditional method, it's just one cost, one driver, which in this case was labor hours. Under the activity based, you're looking at each activity and coming up with a rate for each individual activity. So it's the total cost at the batch level divided by the cost driver, which is the number of setups. And then we have the product level cost divided by the number of inspections. And then we have the facility level times the allocation of 50%. Sorry, it's just 50%. That's the allocation rate. Okay? So, what do we do with these different rates now? Now we allocate our materials. Sorry, our costs. Okay, so we have our 2 different bags, and we have our different activities. So I'm actually going to put the cost driver here, and this is our total overhead allocation. Okay, so the number of machine hours for polyester is 20,000 times the rate of $6. Our total machine setups is 1,500 times the rate of $38. Our total number of inspections times the rate of $190. And then we have our total facility costs times our allocation of 50%. And here we're going to get a total overhead allocation of $240,000. Do you think leather bags is going to be higher or lower than that? Let's see. So now we have, again, $480,000 is the total cost. Sorry, 60,000 machine hours times $6. Total machine setups times the rate. Their number of inspections times the rate. And our total facility costs times 50%. And the total overhead cost for leather bags is $632,000. Okay? So you'll notice that the sum of each activity's costs is going to equal this. They should be the same. We're just allocating it between the two different products. Okay? And now let's look at what our total combined costs are. So we're going to add in our direct materials and our direct labor, which doesn't change from above when we originally calculated it. The only thing that changed is direct overhead. Sorry, indirect overhead. Okay. So now our total product costs are labor plus materials plus overhead. Okay. So you'll see that the total cost is exactly the same. But what do you notice about the allocations? Under the traditional method, the polyester bags cost us $1,016,400. Under the ABC method, they cost us $646,000. And the leather bags cost us $986,000. Which method do you think is more accurate? Combined, it's exactly the same. But the ABC method gives us a different allocation between the two than the labor method, the traditional method. Which one do you think is better and why? We'll talk about this in class on Tuesday. So think about this and think about the two different methods and which one is more accurate and appropriately assigns the overhead costs. I have one more topic to cover for this chapter, and it has to do with quality costs. Okay? There's 4 different types of quality costs. We have prevention costs, appraisal costs, internal failure costs, and external failure costs. Prevention costs are incurred before you even start making anything. All right? So it's product design, training, developing your incentive and rewards, anything that happens during the R&D stage, basically. Appraisal costs is once you start making the product, but before you finished the product. So when you inspect the materials in the product, test the reliability, test the equipment, and any supplies that are involved. Scrap, spoilage, Then we have internal failure costs. This is after the product is completed, but before it's sent to the customer. So examples of this are scrap, spoilage, repair and rework, downtime, and re-inspecting the finished product. And then finally, we have external failure costs. These are the costs after the product's been made and after it's been sent to the client. Examples are warranty, repairs and replacement, freight, customer relations, and restocking and packaging returned items. So here you'll see a company that has these different types of costs. You can see the percentages. The bulk of their quality costs are spent on external failure costs. Okay? This is a really high percentage. You want the majority of your quality costs to be in the prevention or appraisal stages. Because if you spend more time in these 2 stages, then your costs later on will be a lot lower. Okay? So, what's a strategy that this company can implement to reduce their total quality costs? Where should they be spending more time and more money in order to reduce their overall cost of $1 million? Okay? So, why don't you think about that as well, and we'll talk about that on Tuesday as well. Thank you for listening, and please let me know if you have any questions on this material. Hopefully I'll see some of you at the executive lecture series. Otherwise, I'll see you in class on Tuesday. Thank you.